hare or a bunny? Are you a rabbit?
Bunny.
You're a bunny. What's the difference?
So rabbits in the spring, like they're brown, and sometimes in the spring I see bunnies that are white.
Oh, okay. So you're a white bunny. So you're white bunny Blaze, or you're white Blaze bunny, or you're Blaze white bunny, or what?
Blaze bunny.
Blaze bunny. It doesn't matter that you're white. Do you have a tail and everything?
See?
Oh wow, my goodness, you sure do. And a carrot, wow. Do you know where we got that carrot?
Farm?
We got it from a farm. Do you know which farm? No, that's okay. We'll talk about it in a second. Are you excited for this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
What's this weekend?
This weekend is our movie night.
Well, we're having movie night tonight, but what is this weekend?
Easter.
Easter! It's exciting, huh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's all about rabbits, right?
And what's up? What's up, dog?
Yeah, he makes it look easy when he does it because he doesn't actually chew the carrot, right? Is the carrot good? Yeah? Is it sweet and delicious and crunchy?
Uh-huh.
All right.
I'll eat the rest of it.
You'll eat the rest? Okay, cool. Eat it so they can see your cute mask that we worked so hard on. All right, what's up, everybody? It's Friday before Easter weekend, otherwise known as Good Friday. Good for us, not so much for somebody else that existed. But today is the day. We're going to make some carrot cake. So, carrots. Let's start there. Carrots, we're going to use these. They come from a farm. A good friend of mine, David Fisher, who has Fisher Farms. They do CSA boxes and direct to your house boxes. I can't endorse them enough. David, like me, is an acquired taste, but his food is amazing, and I love everything he gives us. But we're going to use real farm fresh carrots today. If you do not have farm fresh carrots, it's fine. If you already have shredded carrots, also fine. If you want to use other colored carrots, go for it. Carrots come in all kinds of colors. Yes, Bunny Blaze.
Like red and yellow, green, and purple.
Well, we don't see a lot of green carrots, but yes, the other three for sure. And we can use other things like carrots. For example, you could easily sub in parsnips, or quince, or apples, or something that has a similar texture with a relatively similar sugar profile. You could even go as far as to use sweet potatoes if you really wanted to. I would make sure that they were shredded very, very fine, but you could do it. This is one of those things that I really kind of throw out to people. I'm known in the industry for using a lot of vegetables in my desserts, and I've been doing that for well over a decade. It got me some notice a while ago, and people would be kind of like, oh, well, I don't really like vegetables in desserts. And I would immediately say, what about carrot cake? What about zucchini bread? What about all of these other things? Like sugar comes from vegetables oftentimes. We get them from beets or rutabagas and or cookies. Yeah, those are vegetables. But plenty of vegetables go into my food. So we have carrots. They are orange. They're delicious. They're local.
I like this one.
Like that one. We also have pineapple. Now, in a perfect world, I would be breaking down a fresh pineapple. But let's face it, I'm based in Texas. I don't know any local Texas pineapple growers. I would love somebody to prove me wrong on that. But unless I'm like in Hawaii or at the tropics, I can't really get too romantic about fresh pineapple. If you buy a whole pineapple and break it down, awesome. It is not necessary at all. For this recipe, I'm using crushed because it just saves me a step. Of course, you could use any type that you like. I'm going to be using pecans. Do you say pecans or pecans or pecans or pecans? What do you say? Pecans, okay. So I'll be using pecans today. Yes, sir.
What about the free jokes?
We will get to the jokes in a second. I am using pecans today because we are in Texas. Pecans are kind of the Texas thing. Traditionally, you could use walnuts. Of course, that's more European. Or you can use any nut that you like. They can definitely be omitted if you're worried about allergens. They do not need to be in the recipe. They fall under what is considered, again, particulates. Just something that's not completely incorporated into the recipe, but it adds a nice level of crunch. So of course you could use something else. If you want to add chocolate chips and be one of those people, go for it. Then we have our flour, oil. You'll see in the notes, I often use grapeseed oil or I use hazelnut oil because I like the flavors. You can use any oil you like. I endorse using an oil from a vegetable that is similar to the vegetable that you are using. Yes, Bunny Blaze.
Do
you forget?
Yeah.
Okay. So vegetables would be something like avocado. Yes, Honey Blaze.
And if, like Joe Baker said, you can use any kind of oil, including vegetable oil.
Thank you. It could also be coconut oil or things like that, especially if you're one of those who likes coconut in their carrot cake. I am not averse to it, but I know plenty of people. Coconut is one of the few kind of polarizing ingredients, so we don't use it very often in my experience. But you could use any oil or melted fat. That means if you want to use shortening, bacon fat, beef fat, if you want to go into butter, you definitely can. You can do all those things. We will be using brown sugar today. I only use dark brown sugar. The recipe probably calls for light brown. That is typically what American bakers use at home. You can use light brown or dark brown. If you are averse to the brown sugar for some reason, you can use white, of course. And then we will be using cinnamon and nutmeg, seasoned to taste. Of course, if I'm going to compose a dish around this, or when we get to the frosting discussion later, I can season it a little more heavily if I know my frosting will be sweeter, or I can kind of push it in a completely new direction if I really wanted to, but we'll revisit that later. And of course, 2 eggs. These are not farm fresh eggs, but they definitely could be. As long as they're 2 large eggs, you're good to go. What do you think, Bunny Blaze? You ready for this? All right, so you're gonna see I have 2 machines today. I have an electric stand mixer because I'm lazy and I don't wanna whip this. And I also have my food processor, again because I'm lazy, but also because I wanna turn a carrot cake into something new and exciting. Was it 2014? Did we determine that? We never looked it up. I think it was 2014 that I was nominated for the best dessert in Dallas for carrot cake that I provided to a restaurant. And personally, it's like, ooh, carrot cake. But in a town full of carrot cake, to be nominated as one of the best desserts when I don't actually work at a restaurant, put your foot down. It was really, really flattering. So this carrot cake is an embodiment of that. It was nominated for best dessert in the city at the time, and part of the reason is because it is much, much lighter, much more refined than your standard carrot cake offering. Part of that is in the process. So let's jump right in. We will take our carrots and we will shred them. I am shredding them on this disc. You could of course do it by hand. I would ask Bunny Blaze to do it, but our cord's too short, so Bunny Blaze, pay attention. You ready? So I drop that in there. Safety first. Isn't that cool? Nice and easy. I could shred it by hand, but of course that was too easy and too fast. Why would I do it any other way? Now, these little extras can go to our local bunny. He can chew those up. I will switch out the disc because what makes this so special is I will put the blade in here, and what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to grind my carrots with the flour to make my own carrot flour. Now it's not like full-blown carrot flour, but it's a carrot-infused flour, if you will. The reason for that, I hate eating and portioning and handling anything that has huge threads in it because it becomes very, very difficult, and I feel that it is very unrefined. So I put my flour, my carrots, we pulse, 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 and we turn it up. Don't be afraid to help your machine out. Take a peek. Pretty good. We'll keep going. And see what we have here is carrot flour. It will be orange. Everything will be very fine, very even. Your carrots won't break down to the point that they are powdered, but they will be definitely smaller than a giant shred of carrot. Do yourself a favor, scrape down the sides, and then we will come back to that at our next step. Now, we can go ahead and combine all of the other ingredients that we need in here. I will add my pineapple. This is of course already crushed, but if you had a whole pineapple, the food processor is a perfect vessel to break it down. I will toss those in there. I will take my previously toasted pecans or other nuts, and I will toss that in there also. Now these nuts are already broken into pieces, so they're already bite-sized, but if you have a whole nut, of course it's better to break it down. The food processor will do it for us. I am a huge advocate, as is any chef that I know, of previously toasting all of your nuts. There are many, many ways to do it. I believe at a low temperature for a very long time. For example, this little 3/4 of a cup of nuts or so would take about an hour and a half at 250 to 275 degrees Fahrenheit in your oven. They need to be shaken periodically, but that way you know you toast them all the way through. If you toast your nuts at too high of a temperature, you're typically only toasting the outside, which you can see. When you bite into it, it's still raw and kind of sad and bland. So that goes in there, and we will pulse this real quick. We can get these carrots off the lid. What do you think, Bunny Blaze? Lots of carrots, right? Yeah, you excited? All right.
Carrots.
Carrots. Pulse, pulse, pulse. And there we go. There are the dry ingredients. So now we can set this aside for a moment, and we can whip this together. Now this is what makes the cake so light. Besides this not being super heavy and very coarse, we're gonna whip our egg whites with our sugar. This will technically be a form of meringue. We will whip these together until essentially the ribbon stage. It will take about 3 or 4 minutes. Yes, Bunny Blaze? It can be any kind of crystalline sugar, definitely. Each crystalline sugar obviously has different free moisture in them, so they will whip differently and they will have more moisture accordingly. Excellent question. Good job, bud. All right, now while this is whipping, what you got for me as far as jokes?
Well, all I have is.
Okay, so tell me the jokes.
What did the rabbit say to the carrot?
What did the rabbit say to the carrot? I don't know, what?
It was nice gnawing.
Tell them, don't tell me.
It was nice gnawing.
It was nice gnawing you, like biting? That's so funny. All right, do you have another joke? What?
What did one snowman say to the other?
What did the one snowman say to the other? I don't know, what?
Do you smell carrots?
Do you smell carrots? That's funny because they have carrot noses, right? Yeah, you're funny.
Oh, and I got one more.
You got one more? Okay.
Why don't snowmen like carrots?
Oh, why don't snowmen like carrot cake? I don't know why. Tell them, don't tell me.
Because it tastes like boogers.
Because it tastes like boogers. Wow, we don't typically talk about boogers when we're making food for people, but okay. Because their noses are carrots, I get it. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so our meringue is essentially done. You can see, hopefully, in the bowl that we have a pretty thick ribbon. One of the ways to test a ribbon, hopefully you were here for hollandaise, is we can write a letter. I will write a B because it has a lot of motion. It'll hold the entire B, and I'm good to go. Now, to this, we will add our seasoning. Again, we have cinnamon and nutmeg today. And I will slowly stream my oil in as I whip it further. If you wanted to use other seasoning, you definitely could. What are you doing, Bunny Blaze?
You said slowly, so I would.
You were mimicking that? Okay, cool. Hands down. All right, so we're gonna get this going again. I could have added my seasoning in the beginning, but my fear is that it would weigh down the ribbon from forming, so this is a nice little insurance policy to do it slightly later. Now I'll take my oil, and I will stream it down in there. The machine will pull it in for me. And we just let it go real nice and slow. Just in case. So we're streaming, streaming, streaming. And it incorporates. And what we're doing here, since we're incorporating a huge amount of egg with a decent amount of oil, we're actually making something kind of like sweet mayonnaise. And I know that's a weird thing to think about, but that's the texture I want you to shoot for. It needs to be completely emulsified. It needs to have kind of that moussey body like a mayonnaise would if you were to make it fresh. We're not looking for eggs that are whipping inside of oil. We need to make sure that they are completely uniform and even, and then we can turn our machine off. Nice and easy, huh, bud? Mm-hmm. All right. So now what comes next? This, go ahead.
As we mix it?
We are gonna finish mixing it. I could use the stand mixer. I could use the Robot-Coupe, but I'm gonna finish it by hand just because. So we carefully remove all this. You'll also see that the flour mixture will get considerably stiffer as it absorbs the excess moisture from everything, the nuts, the carrots, and the pineapple. If you had coconut, it would also work that way. We're gonna jump all this in there.
That's a lot.
It's not a lot. Now, you'll see also that the recipe I'm using calls for bread flour, not cake or pastry flour or even all-purpose. It's because we have a lot of moisture in here with the oil and the nuts and the pineapple and the carrots. So we need something with good, strong, absorbent powers like bread flour. But here is our finished carrot cake. Done. Too easy, right?
Yeah, it's do we have to bake it to make it like a cake?
We do have to bake it to make it like a cake. So I will bake it in this pan because we're going to take it to our Easter celebration. I'm going to gently spray it. It goes into a standard baking oven, 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You can use convection, you can use flats, whatever you would like.
350?
Yes, 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It's kind of the standard pastry temperature, right? So we'll get it all out. Do yourself a favor, clean the bowl really well, otherwise you have to wash it that much more. And this cake works very, very well as a whole cake. It works super, super well as muffins, or as I would do it in the restaurant world, I would bake them as whole sheets on a baking tray, and then we could come back and stack larger and larger amounts of them, and it would be super, super easy. Because it's so fine, we can make the layers very, very thin, and it doesn't impact the overall flavor or finish because everything's super fine. I'm going to throw this in the oven, and then we will talk about the frosting real fast. Now, one of the questions I got preparing for this recipe was, hey, Joe, are you going to share with us a cream cheese frosting recipe? And my answer is no. I actually do not like cream cheese frosting for this recipe because, in my opinion, it is far too heavy, far too dense. I know that a lot of people, the Southern American palate really loves that really rich, a little bit sour, super sugary finish, but for such a light cake, it's way too much. You'll lose the cake in the middle of it all. So what I do, if I'm going to serve this with a cream cheese style frosting, is I'm going to make a standard cream cheese frosting, and then I will actually lighten it up with Italian meringue. So it will be 1 part frosting, 1 part meringue. Now, other things that I love with carrot cake that most people don't think about, but I think is actually far superior in flavor, we love cream cheese because of that slight tartness. What I think tastes even better is something like maple buttercream or butterscotch buttercream. I think both of those taste so much better with carrot cake than cream cheese because honestly, cream cheese, it's tried and true, I get it, but it's old and lame. Now, where is the best place to get bread flour? These days, good luck at the grocery store. I still sell it on my website to everybody who can't find it. I sell it as often and as readily as I can. Of course, my suppliers are starting to run into the same thing grocery stores are. They're trying to keep up with it. But send me a message if you desperately need it. I would love to help you with your baking, especially for holidays. Now, what questions do you have, Bunny Blaze?
Well, I got one.
What's your question?
Since I'm a bunny, shouldn't we have taken 1 carrot from that recipe and let me eat it because I love carrots?
You did eat one of the carrots from the recipe. That literally just had, it's on film, we can watch it. Do you mean another carrot? No, because we need a certain amount of everything in the recipe, otherwise the recipe does not work. But if for some reason you wanted extra carrots in there, you could definitely do that. If you want to pull the carrots back out, you can do that as well. It's by and large simply a particulate similar to the nuts. It is not vital for the recipe to work as a cake, but it of course adds some moisture and a decent amount of sweetness to the entire thing. The recipe is definitely on my website. It is posted on Facebook. You should definitely be able to find it under all the quarantine cooking and any of the links that we've included to this point. Are there any other questions out there before we take off for our Easter weekend? We'll give it a second. While we wait for any questions to roll in, tomorrow, for all of my local peeps, because of Easter, I'll be at the farmer's market handing out almost entirely pre-ordered products. If you did not pre-order, I'm going to save you the time. I do not have any sourdough left. I do not have any challah left. I will have some pumpkin breads and some sweet potato breads, which is of course my favorite.
What about banana bread?
There is no banana bread. There will be some macaroons for order, or to pick up. If you want those, I cannot encourage you any more than I'm about to. You should get there in the first hour because they will go very, very fast. If you do not make it, the store is closed until Monday. I have to have an Easter weekend too. That's why I work for myself, so I don't have to work every day, all day until I die. So we will see you again next week. No questions. Can we say Happy Easter?
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
And bye.
And bye.